Okay, so what I wanted to do for this demo is to demonstrate this cute little platform game dev library, the so-called dbox GDK or something. And it's presented as a tutorial with the final product being this cute little platform game, which I'm about to open in a second. But as a brief overview, let's see what this tutorial entails. We have the obligatory attaboy. We have some basic coordinates, some kind of windowing scheme, sprite sheets. Of course, for the past 30 minutes or so, I've been doing some preliminary modding and taking some notes with a lot of these demos so that I can get an idea of what I want to do, and I'll just jump straight into the final program and see if I can make my own creative little game. Of course, game dev isn't really my orientation, but hopefully something productive will come of this. So the one thing I wanted to have handy and open is part 6, because it allows you to draw the map using pure code instead of resorting to this map editor, which isn't really my style. So I'll have this handy and let's begin. So I've loaded up the final copy, added the tile set image, and now let's give it a brief run through. Use arrow keys and spacebar to jump, and I guess the objective here is to make it to the very end. Got some nice trees here. And we made it, and the game ends. So in order to make development a bit easier and less cumbersome, I'm going to add a escape key that will allow me to exit the program at any time. And I'll do this by doing the following. If this is equal to then what I'll have is game over equals true, and if game over is indeed true, we stop the scene and terminate the program. Okay, so play, and now we're back to editing, I guess. Let's see, this, that. Okay, perfect. Okay, so The next thing I'm gonna do is remove this silly map and opt to create my own. And from what I understand, all I have to do is take this and then take this, then I take this, okay, map create, let's see, 200, place the character maybe 50, and I think one of the okay, the last thing I have to do is use this collision sub instead of this one. Hopefully like that. And that gives me what I want for now. Just for the sake of convenience, I'll adjust the controls a little bit here. Instead of spacebar, we'll go with W. And I'm okay with that. Okay. So next, we're going to trash this demonstration map and create our own. And to do so, we're going to take apart this sub right here. So notice that there's two layers, and for each layer you have a sort of almost like a painting algorithm. So then all I have to do is just take this out, place it here. Once again, then this becomes our layer 1, and this is our layer 2. I'll comment this out just in case. Like this. And presumably nothing changes. Okay, so then if I remove the second layer, I should see some of the decorations disappear. And that's exactly what happens. And so the next thing I'll make this a nice long map. Hopefully this is enough. I don't know what the game over condition is. And rows. happens if I do just one row? And tile is, let me just check, what was it again? I want these tiles, so that's gonna be 2. So tile equals 2, and just one row. Okay, and now I have what I want. Except GX scene columns. Okay, now this is what I want. Let's see if this is enough space for us. Should be fine. And there's the exit condition. Once again, yeah, I wanted to see the game over, but just blink real quick. So now that we have some kind of a baseline, 2 row -2. What we can do is maybe start here, maybe here or so, and do the following. Y equals row plus 4 times sine column divided by 30-ish maybe. And let's see if this does anything. Except I forgot to do this. Or rather, this. Okay. So now we have some kind of a sinusoidal hilly map terrain, which is going to be maybe a little bit more fun. And of course we can always add stuff. Let's make it a little steeper maybe. Maybe like a 3. And this -3. Or -5. Like this. Or let's even go -4. Okay, I'm okay with that. And to make this a little more attractive, I'm gonna do the following. tile I want is, I think, 14 for dirt. And here I do this. And this is a +1. Okay, perfect. Now we have a procedurally generated terrain on which we can freely move and do all kinds of game dev type things. So I guess the next thing we should do, let me just maybe increase the limit a bit, or never mind, not now. Next thing I want to do is I want to add some enemy combatants to have some company and have some kind of objective, something to do. And to do that, all I'm gonna do is first I remove this garbage, and next I'm going to create a bunch of enemies. Let's start with enemy. Let's start with 5, and then we just copy this. Like this. For I equals 0 to here everything becomes enemy. And then we can comment this part out, I think. And this part is going to be, let's do maybe 20 times I, see what that does. Fuck. Okay. So maybe 20, 120. 220. 250. So here we go. Now we're one individual against some kind of a army of enemies. So now I wonder, am I able to turn them towards me, looking at me? Make them all face the same way, it doesn't matter. I'll space them out a bit more, maybe 25-ish here. Okay, now we have some enemies. And maybe the thing that we can do is try to introduce some kind of a battle, some kind of combat. Maybe we'll start with firearms. So all of that firearm stuff is going to probably take place not here. on draw screen. So presumably this all happens where you draw. So just for convenience, let's print at the top our mouse coordinates. That's nice. And now we're going to draw our firearm. And to do that, we need x equals GX entity x player like that. And let's see where that lands. Circle x naught, y naught, 3, yellow. Okay. Interesting. I think what I need here is so-called minus GX scene X. Okay, perfect. So now I know exactly where my player is, and I can start drawing some kind of a rifle. So now let's make this smaller and let's see, place it maybe like this, 7-ish pixels, 10-ish pixels, 15. Okay, that's about his hand, right? So from there, we're just going to draw a line. X naught, Y naught, 2-step, 130, 0, and we'll make this rifle a nice tactical black. Okay, a little long, but it's a start. Maybe 15, 10. Okay, that looks like a nice looking gun. And the next thing is we have to be able to aim the gun, of course. And this is where we introduce trigonometry. Let's start with an angle of 30 degrees. X of cosine. Here this just becomes and now our weapon's looking a little more flaccid now. And finally, we select this angle based on the mouse function using the arctan2 minus mouse x minus x naught and mouse y minus y naught. I guess. Okay. And now, as you can see, I guess just for the sake of visibility, we'll make our gun yellow. And now you see I'm holding some kind of a firearm, which I can aim anywhere on the screen. while simultaneously moving and jumping. And so the next thing is going to be to shoot and kill the enemies. And to do that, I guess let's introduce the shooting mechanic. Delete the mouse indicators, and inside the handle player movement, where we have our arrow keys, we will introduce the mouse. So if the left mouse button is pressed, we're gonna have two firearm related variables. It's gonna be shoot, bullet X, and bullet Y, hopefully. So then if set gun is fired, shot equals 1. It's a singular shot. And just in case, set them to all to 0. And now if this is shot, then let's draw some kind of a muzzle flash then. If shot, then line let's say 100-ish. And let's color it red. So now if I fire, and as soon as we draw it, we stop the shot. So now I can walk around and shoot these guys with a nice little muzzle flash. The only issue is we need some kind of a bullet, right? Since I have this red vector, I know the direction. I can extrapolate where this bullet is gonna land. All I need to do is just identify the location of each enemy. So let's do that by first highlighting them every time the gun is shot. So for I equals 0 to the upper bound of the enemy array, we obtain entity x. We obtain the position of each enemy and we draw say 10 by 10 so-called hitbox, if that's what you call them. Okay, there we are. So now every time I fire this gun, let's just adjust them to their sizes, which are 16 by 20. 16 by 20. Okay, perfect. So what we have here now is every time a gun is fired, you're shown all the potential deaths that could happen. So now all we have to do is make it such that we detect when this vector intersects with any box, just one of them at a time, and that will be a registered hit. So let's do that. So if shot, now we have the perfect visualization of what we have to do in order to detect hits. As you can see, every time I shoot, I draw this red vector indicating the trajectory of the bullet, and every time a bullet hits an enemy, you see a set of green circles being drawn. So now all I have to do is be very careful in cleaning this up so I can turn this into a game. Okay, let's think about this. If shot. Okay, so for the sake of convenience, what I'm gonna try to do is once a player is hit, let's just take them out of the game. So I think it's GX entity position. Do I have this anywhere? Okay, there it is. And this is gonna be enemy I GX and then so if I kill somebody, they should drop to the ground. Everyone does except the last one. Okay, that's okay. Okay, I think I see the problem right now. And that is simply this sign should be greater than or equal to. And that should do it. Okay, perfect. Now I can shoot and kill all the enemies. Let's make this maybe 28. How come they don't fall down completely? Oh, perfect. Maybe 30 here. Okay, this is great. So now I'm able to freely jump around, shoot my gun, and kill everybody in sight, just like this. Okay, so I guess I'll just take a quick look, see if there's anything to clean up. I guess we don't need bullets after all. Then we don't need any of this decorative code. Here it looks good. Not sure if this delay does anything. I'll comment it out. Probably not. And this is all just logic. So one last thing I'll do is just make the muzzle flash a little shorter for decorative purposes. Which happens right here. Maybe make it about 5-ish. Just a little indicator. There we go. Now we don't really see what's happening. Delete this junk. Okay. So now we really feeling the game now. Jumping around. Take him out. Take him out. You know. Let's see if we can even do this. I guess not, but that's fine. So I guess what do we do now? We have our gun. I guess we could add like maybe a grenade launcher, a rocket launcher, some kind of a bomb, maybe some kind of a melee weapon. But as far as the weapons, I think I have a much better idea. Give me a second. Okay, so how's this for a fucking weapon? You can guess what I'm gonna attempt to do next. So I guess what I'm gonna try to do with that model or that sprite sheet is turn it into yet another character. And one thing I quickly want to try is what happens if I do this. Let's say enemy 0, and then we comment this out. And what should happen is now I'm focused on this enemy, but this one moves around. So give me something of a change in point of view, change in perspective. So that's good to know. We'll set everything back to normal. Okay, so let's create our helicopter. Dim shared helicopter. We then do all of this, and then let me just check what these values were. 1 second. So it's 62 and 30. We call all of this helicopter. And because this is a helicopter, it's not all that concerned with gravity. Or wait, I'll leave it for now. Yeah, I forgot the file, of course. And now, there. So let's maybe put it here. And maybe 80-ish. Okay, nice. So now we have our helicopter handy in here, and our enemies here. So the next thing is to be able to get inside the helicopter and to start flying it. So to do that, I'm going to create something of a state machine, so whether the player is inside the helicopter or is not. So let's just call it shared pilot, and he starts out not inside the helicopter. So to keep things simple, let's assume the player walks over here and presses, let's say, the key E. What should happen is the player should become the helicopter as the character. So let's do that in our control section. Here's our mouse stuff. Here's some gravity stuff, I guess. And here's the key stuff. Okay, let's begin. Change this to an let's call this E. So if a helicopter is entered, we set our pilot state to 1. Or we can even do something like, that's fine. Then I guess might as well try this. So let's make sure it works first. Press E. And now I'm stuck to the helicopter. Okay. Another thing we can do is, I think, make the okay, let's do this now. This is going to be a bit tedious and a bit repetitive, but it's a nice placeholder and can always be cleaned up and fixed later. So if pilot, then else. I don't even know what half of this stuff is doing actually. And because helicopters don't jump, we're not gonna need this. this makes sense. So just real quick, I guess in the future, if this were to become a real game, you'd need some better pipelining for situations like this, so that you're not constantly and mindlessly reusing code like this. But for this demo, that's fine. So here I am walking, hop in the helicopter, and now the helicopter is walking. Where did I place the helicopter? What if I do 10? Strange, why is it so slow? Doesn't matter. So the next thing I want to do is allow to fly the helicopter, obviously. And so instead of detecting a jump, or what is it? Okay, let's take this. If it's like this, then we do this. This will be, let's try +2. So hop in. Okay. -2. And then want to be able to land, of course. Let's go with S. And this will be a plus. So for example, I go in, I execute all these people, I hop into the helicopter. Oops. Oh yeah, and the helicopter should not respond to gravity. Somehow 50 feels right. So again, perform this execution, hop in, and try to fly away. And of course, a helicopter should be much faster than a pedestrian, so what is this Excel? 7. Let's just use a multiplier here then. Okay, and then we take off on our helicopter. And I think one thing I noticed you can do is, let's just check one of these files. And T. Entity visible. So when we get into the helicopter, we'll make the player invisible. And this would be presumably GX false. And there's our game. You go in, you have some kind of a dispute, you kill all these people, you run to your helicopter, hop in, and you fly away, making sure not to crash. And that's about it. So maybe there will be a part 2, maybe not.